Well, g'day, Ross Thatcher from Australia here again. How yous all doing? I was just watching, for the sake of clarity, I was watching one of my own videos, which I don't tend to do very often. Probably should more often, and it'd be great to get a video editor one of these days and actually edit them for brevity. But I was watching the one which I think is probably one of my most profound moon videos ever, which is called Post-Sunset Moon Rant Karman Line, Firmament B. And in it, I dropped a particular line which I didn't even realise I'd said at the time. And it triggered something, because I get triggered easily, apparently. It triggered a thought to me of something that I was saying. And it was something that I've been saying a bit regularly lately as well. In that the model of the flat Earth, it's not a very easy thing to describe. And I compared it to, you need to understand each and every part, similar to, for example, human anatomy. Like, you take a piece of human anatomy alone by itself, like, say, an eyeball. You look at an eyeball on an operating table, like what we did in high school science, where we cut open a cow's eyeball or something. It was a pretty gross, disgusting, not very educative thing to be doing, but that's part and parcel of science in high school, is to chop up parts of dead animals in the hope of understanding our own anatomy. But the point I'm getting at is the eyeball by itself is pretty well useless. It's part of the understanding of the evolutionary process as well, is that a single eyeball on its own is nothing. It's a piece of gel that does nothing. But when it's connected to optical nerves, into living brain tissue, inside of an eye socket with operating eyelids to protect it and lubricate it and all the rest, when you put all those things together, then a functioning eye serves a very great purpose. It's, as I say, standing alone, it is useless. But with all the different operative parts in process, and then by extraction, you have to say, well, the person has to be alive. So what keeps us living is our ability to breathe. So we work off air pressure in our lungs, which are the pump. The pump then drives the blood, which then the valve of the heart keeps the blood flowing in all the directions that it should be going. So it gets oxygenated in the lungs and then passed around through various parts of the body. Then we have our various muscles, nerves, and all the rest, which, we burn calories, so we need to be intaking calories, whether we get it directly through sunlight onto our skin and through our eyes, or if we eat food which has come from a plant, where the plant has absorbed the sunlight and transformed that into stuff that we can consume through our bellies and take that sunlight and become living beings of light. Or if you're a really low vibrational frequency person, you'll allow animals to digest the food for you and eat the animal. So by eating their flesh, you somehow retain a real third-hand, low-level grade of light, which is what generally speaking, means the meat eater becomes like, as we call a meathead. They're low vibrational frequency thinkers. They can't reach the more subtle levels of thought that are involved. So you basically believe, well, I'm not a scientist, I'll just believe what authority tells me, and therefore, if we're told we live on a spinning space ball, we live on a spinning space ball, and you're a freaking moron if you don't believe what the authorities tell us. So to become an intelligent, independent thinker, of course, it helps to cleanse your body of all those blockages, which we're taught that's what disease is. Well, we're not taught that at all, actually. I was taught, because I took the effort to learn this stuff when I was much younger, that Professor Arnold Ehret, one of the greatest healers of the last century, he taught that all disease is constipation, localized constipation. So if you have arthritis, for example, you've got blockages in your veins and nerves and joints, which is generally mineralization. So by drinking distilled water, I had to think for a second then, distilled water, which isn't full of minerals, your body slowly leaches minerals out until you reach a balance. Now, if you don't have arthritis, if you constantly drink distilled water, you'd possibly leach too much minerals and your bones would weaken. So you want to have a proper balance, a good yin and yang of minerals, which is why if you do drink distilled water and you don't have arthritis, I'd recommend adding a bit of sea salt to it to put the mineral content back in, and then therefore help with the osmosis process between cellular activity far better, because that's what salt does. It helps absorb from one to another. It increases the osmotic effect. I think I just made up another word. So the point of this is, what I'm getting to, is that the model works by the fact that we understand the relationship between the various parts. Now, the earth can be compared to our body in a sense. Like if you ever read the Essene Gospel of Peace, book 1, which I've actually read a recording of somewhere on my channel, way back in the history of this channel. In that, Jesus teaches us, through his methods of healing, that our bodies are the Mother Earth's bodies, our bones are her bones, our blood is like the pure streams flowing through the brooks, and the air we breathe, of course, must be the fresh air of her lungs. So when we breathe the air, she is literally breathing into us. She is the giver of life. We can't last long without air. So air is one of the most important angels of our realm we live upon. And the realm is teeming with angels. Water, for example, is love manifest. We cannot create it, we cannot destroy it. We can transform it into heat, we can abuse it and do all manner of nasty stuff to it, but ultimately it'll still be water, and it does retain the vibrational frequency, which we can intelligently impress upon it. So if you constantly give thanks and appreciation to your water, put the word love on it, put love into everything, then that water of love becomes you. And so you grow in intelligence and a loving sense. When all you can think about is killing animals to eat them, that's not a real loving thing to do. And it can be done, of course, like a traditional hunter does give thanks to the animal which has given its life for his. And in that respect, I have no problem with people who hunt their own food, if that's their thing, and consume it consciously. It's all about consciousness. So I've gone way off track with what I intended to discuss here in the first place. But I'm saying that with the model, the earth represents the physical body. And then we've got the atmosphere, represents the air that we breathe. It's the living lungs of the system of the earth. And of course we understand there's the water, there's the veins, there's the tributaries, there's the oceans. 70% surface of the water of the earth is roughly the same percentage of water content of our bodies. And then the word earth itself, with a little bit of rearrangement of the letters, you take the last letter and put it to the front, and you've got heart. So earth is the heart. It is the living, beating, rhythmic center of where we're living. The heart, the hearth. And in fact, just a bit of trivia, my last name, Thatcher, contains the letters for both heart and hearth and earth. And in a way, I think, part of the living consciousness of the Mother Earth. I have done many things that people have not done in awakening my own consciousness, partly through cleansing diets and meditations, and basically just getting back to nature and getting in touch with the trees. That can give you so much information when you understand that they have basically got their heads in the soil, so they're spreading their brains, their roots throughout the earth and connecting with one another as one entity. And they say that there's very others microcosms or microplasmic, micro fungal type connections as well that act as like the neurons or neurotransmitters of our brains, they're all connected with one another. They are all conscious in a way that we cannot comprehend unless you go out of your way to realize it for yourself. And it's something that can take years and years of dedication. I didn't even know that I was looking for it until it occurred to me, and I was basically meditating upside down with my head sinking into this soft, loamy, soily, sandy sort of soil, mossy sort of stuff, with my back up against a tree. And it occurred to me in this deep state of meditation that the trees are sort of waving their limbs up towards the sun, and their leaves are kind of like their toes or fingers, whatever, waving in the sunlight, collecting the sunlight, absorbing that energy so that the brains can reach further into the soil to absorb the rich mineral content and a higher level of awareness that we don't even think of. We think higher means up there in the sky, whereas in the heart and soul, soil of the Mother Earth, there is so much more awareness, intelligence, ancient intelligence going back beyond the limits of time. So anyway, because I was watching this video and I mentioned that we're on the heart, the hearth, the womb of the earth, and I compare our entire model to a living entity, well then what's above the heart is the lungs. So the earth is the heart, the lungs are the air, and what is another name for the sun is soul. And because I mentioned heart and soul, I suddenly realized, whoa, it's no coincidence that the traditional name for the sun is soul, S-O-L. And so when we talk about heart and soul, that is the connection between our mother and our father. We are the seeds of the father, born as children of the mother onto the earth. It just sort of blew me away in a sense to think that the name soul should also apply to the sun, the giver of life. I'll just leave you with that thought, I think, and have a happy Sunday. See you around.